During his 3-hour and 17-minute cabinet meeting this week, where all the members of his disgusting little cabinet took turns praising him and he would interject with these incoherent ramblings, Donald Trump actually admitted something that was quite shocking. I mean, he said a lot of shocking things that are really horrible for the country, but he did say one thing that was very true, very real, and very scary for the Republican Party. And it was that the Democrats, somehow, some way, managed to completely outsmart the Republican Party and Donald Trump himself, although he didn't admit that, on Donald Trump's signature issue, the one big, beautiful bill, which a recent poll showed is, in fact, the least popular, actually most unpopular, not least popular, most unpopular piece of legislation passed in modern history. More on that and how the Democrats outsmarted Trump and the Republicans in just a second, but first, a quick word from today's video sponsor. By now, you know Trump's big, beautiful bill has passed, but almost no one's reporting how ICE will get nearly $40 billion of our tax money each year, making it the most heavily funded law enforcement agency in U.S. history. That's more money than most nations spend on their entire military. So much of our media is either missing the worst of this bill or twisting the language so you think it's all in your best interest. But we've seen the ICE raids ramping up. Now Trump's openly threatening to deport U.S. citizens. This should be the biggest story in America, yet it's buried. Making ground news essential right now is what all of this is doing. They're the only tool I've found exposing these blind spots in the media. By gathering the world's news in one place, organizing it by story, then analyzing just how far-right and radical each unbiased source actually is, you get way more context than you ever would anywhere else. If we're being honest, we've seen Trump's power grabs throughout history. They said never again, and that means never again everywhere. And right now, it's happening here. So if you want to stay ahead on immigration, the economy, or simply finding the stories missing from your news feeds, Ground News has you covered. Their app and website is a smarter, more reliable way to stay informed at a time when MAGA is banking on us to stay distracted. So I've partnered with them to get you 40% off the same Vantage plan that I have been using. That comes out to $5 a month for unlimited access to everything I've mentioned and so much more. Just go to ground.news/Farron or scan the QR code to subscribe. With at least another 4 years of this, we can't afford to miss these details. So according to Donald Trump, the Republicans all got outsmarted by the Democrats on the messaging surrounding his one big beautiful bill, and he went as far during his cabinet meeting to suggest that maybe it's time for a rebrand. Which, honestly, is probably not a bad idea. For those of you who may not be aware of this, the reason we always refer to it as the one big beautiful bill is because that is literally the name of the piece of legislation. It is actually factually called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Which, as I've said, if you got a group of like kindergarten girls together and asked them to name legislation, that's probably what they would come up with. Like the one big beautiful bill that does everything and fixes everything. You know, we were going to call it the Rainbow and Unicorn Act, but we thought that was a little over the top. But that's actually the name of it. So yeah, a rebrand is not a bad idea because that's just stupid on its face. And nobody talks like that either, by the way. Nobody says, one big beautiful bill. Like, Jesus Christ, can somebody please stop indulging in all of Trump's little toddler fantasies? It's driving me insane. Like, he's the one that should be in the nut house, but I'm going to be driven there having to talk about him every day. Anyway, he admitted... I got way off on that. He admitted that the Democrats outsmarted the Republicans on messaging by being together, by being cohesive, by being coherent. about how damaging this bill is for the American public. Meanwhile, you had Republicans out there every day having to defend it. That's when you know you've lost. Many, many years ago, and I mean like 18, 19 years ago, I saw Paul Begala, who of course was one of Bill Clinton's, campaign advisors along with James Carville, in a speech. And he said something in that speech that I wish the Democrats all over the country would have heard and listened to and learned from. It's what I've kind of based my whole, political life on. And it was this, a very simple message. Always attack, never defend. And he repeated that line 3 times in a row. Always attack, never defend. Always attack, never defend. Because when you're on defense, you've already lost. And that's where the Republicans found themselves trying to sell this horrible legislation to the public. They were going out there and having to say, well, it's not cutting Medicaid for everybody. It's just the able-bodied people who are choosing to not work, which of course makes up a fraction of a percentage of the amount of people on Medicare. And I'm talking like 0.5%. But the public still didn't even buy that. They're like, no, you're lying. But not to mention the fact that you're also using this legislation to extend tax breaks for people who I will never meet financially. I will never be at the level to where I get the tax cut from this. You're screwing us all over. You're taking benefits away from us to give it to the wealthy elite. And the Democrats were right about it. They were right about everything. Trump, on the other hand, who actually has a hat that says Trump was right about everything, was wrong about everything. The public didn't buy it. The public doesn't like it. The public still hates it, even though it was signed, almost 2 months ago. They're still pissed. And the anger is only going to increase once all the provisions of it start taking effect. That is going to hurt these red states more than it hurts the blue states. Don't believe me? What happened this week? When we saw a Democratic candidate win a special election in a dark red district, not a swing district, not a leans Republican, a district that Donald Trump won less than a year ago by double digits, and a Democrat won that seat away from the Republicans, killing their supermajority in the state legislature. That happened Tuesday. Democrats are capitalizing on this. They may not be as cohesive as a party as we would like to see. They're not as progressive as I would like to see. But what they're doing is starting to work. Took a while for them to gain a little traction. But if we're at the point where even Trump is admitting that, oh God, the Democrats won on this bill issue that's my signature policy, then you know that the Democrats are finally headed in the right direction. Thanks for watching, everyone. We're inching closer and closer to 1 million subscribers, and we're aiming to hit that goal before the year closes. So if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please do so, and don't forget to like, comment, and share. Thanks for joining us as we head towards this huge milestone.